there is an unofficial saying that once you go into politics in Africa specifically, then you might not want to go back because of the wealth, the immunity, and the power that you so much enjoy. Well, I'm sitting today with Professor Pat Utomi, who wears so many hats, such as the economist hat, the educator's hat, and so on and so forth. Well, he has joined in the gubernatorial race for Delta State, and we want to know why. What we know is what, but the why and the how is the question I have to ask him today. It's such a pleasure always sitting here and speaking to you because you have such grace. You know, there's a charm about you when, having to speak with you. So thank you for having us once again.
It's a pleasure.
I'd like to start with what we started off the air, Patito's Gang. I'm sure, growing up, a lot of us watched that. Our father said, come and sit down here and watch it or something, because, it was communal and, lessons were learned, social lessons and so forth. And now, it's mainstreaming into politics. Can you give us, an idea? Because I didn't know when it came back, but thank God you told me of the era that it's back, but it's just streaming on one channel. Has Patito's Gang rebranded? Because it may not be the same Patito's Gang that we used to know.
Well, there's been no deliberate effort to take it off its core course. But it strikes me as I travel around the world. I've run into Nigerians. In fact, the most interesting was in Melbourne, Australia. Somebody was screaming across the street, saw me on the street, and he said to me, Patito's Gang shaped my life. I said, really? Well, I've been struggling to find legacy stuff. I didn't realize that Patito's Gang was already legacy. But I guess that's what comes from being motivated properly. The whole idea of Patito's Gang was to elevate Nigeria's democracy to a place where there is a true public sphere, a marketplace of ideas, where people of competing ideas, all designed to elevate common good, meet and square it out and scream and do whatever it takes to get their point of view across. And really, it was rooted in reality. In some ways, it was a reality show. And you're not the first person who has said, my father wakes us up and says, come and watch.
You must learn something today.
So that's gratifying to hear.
Absolutely. Like I earlier said, you wear so many hats, and one you are in the race to wear right now is that of pure politics, if I'm to use that, mainstream politics. The gubernatorial race is about, some people say it's the second tier, some people say it's the third tier, but it is one of the major highlights of the general elections that will be taking place in 2019. I'd like to ask a very simple question. Why now? Why governor?
Well, actually, if I had my way, I wouldn't run for anything at all. Even chairman of my own office. But my whole life has been about example. Okay. How do you show example? And that's why I'm a teacher. And teaching is about showing people how the world should be and what they can do to get the better of the world out there. To be quite frank, after the 2015 elections, I was disappointed with how things were evolving. And I thought, okay, it's time to step away from public life. I began to worry about legacy. It's interesting that we started with Patito's Gang and my realization that in some ways Patito's Gang has become legacy. But I didn't think Patito's Gang when I was thinking legacy. I was thinking, and so I'm beginning to approach the autumn of my being. I'm going to be 60. That's about 3 years ago. I'm going to be 60 shortly. What's my legacy? And I began to think, okay, obviously, political sphere in Nigeria is a complete mess. It's not really the place for legacy. We have state capture. A group of people who own Nigeria. They have found a very convenient arrangement with a group of cult boys who came out of university, most of who became governors. The country has been a mess. So maybe I should seek legacy in taking the work that I have done in social enterprise Because, let's face it, I've had good fortune.
Yes, you have.
In commerce, done a few things. I've taken companies from nothing to the stock exchange. In academia, I don't think anybody can talk about education in Nigeria or talk about entrepreneurship training in Nigeria. We're talking about me because I literally invented entrepreneurship education in this country. I don't think you can go into X, Y, Z territories without. So let me just take the experience from social enterprise and see how I could work social impact in a way that there are millions of people who, for generations, can say, because of this kind of service, our world was different. So that's all that was consuming me. But as the thing went on, I had to ask myself, at least the worst that can happen is that you put it on record that you made the best effort. Okay.
I have to ask, going through the first phase of, you're now a member of the APC, you're a card-carrying member of the All Progressives Congress, going through that process of getting the ticket, the sole ticket to represent APC in that state against other parties, sincerely speaking, how do you see that panning out? Because we have the likes, so let me just quickly read out some names, from Okotie-Ebo, Chief Okotie Osobie, who is an indigene of Delta Central Senatorial District, Delta North. We have Chief Great Oboru, we have retired Honorable Victor Oche, Dr. Kari Ojo, but there are lots and lots of names that will be, also tugging in there to get that sole ticket. How do you see this really panning out? Because
the truth of the matter is, and if we have a really democratic process, and I like the way South Korea saved its politics, because its politics was quite bad, similar to Nigerian politics a couple of decades ago. They decided, look, this arena is crowded with people who have money in their pocket or who have goals other than public service. Mm-hmm. And so they instituted a process where the debate was central to the political process. You don't win an election until you've debated people in classrooms, on the streets, on television, everywhere. And my challenge is, let's go to debate, all of us. Have at least 10 debates on the issues that affect the people of Delta, stating specific ideas, how we will implement it, and how we will be held accountable in the implementation of those. Anybody who, amongst all this pack, who can last the distance with me, I will support.
You've mentioned debate. Don't you feel a little bit uncomfortable saying that, because the most obvious political leader from that party, which is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is none other than Muhammadu Buhari, he hardly or never attended one debate in 2015. How does that make you feel? I mean, saying that this would be your basis.
That's not my turf. My turf is what we're talking about. I have debated Muhammadu Buhari. I debated him in the 2007 elections.
7 years.
Yeah, so it was himself, myself. Sorry, not 2007. Yeah, it was 7.
Yes, that was, yeah.
Yeah, I was supposed to debate with him, Umaru Yar'Adua, and Umaru Yar'Adua did not show up. Buhari and I debated. So it's not fair to him saying he's never shown up at the debate.
2015, he didn't show up at all.
So anyhow, my point remains that this is the turf we're talking about.
Yeah.
People of Delta have been in bondage. That's the truth of the matter. All you have to do is drive through Delta. You drive from Edo, just delivered from bondage 9 years ago, and you see the difference. You drive into Anambra, just delivered from bondage 10, 11 years ago.
You've criticized this government. Some years back, you talked about Buhari not being underperforming. Those were your words. You berated APC for underperforming and saying that he was employing a secondary school, maybe that's not the term, but not the best economic plan for Nigeria. Now, playing that back to today and you carrying that same card, how does that make you feel, and how do you respond to those who believe maybe you should have gone under another emblem to fly this flag?
Well, I think first of all, it's important to make some corrections. It's not in my style. I could never have made those statements.
Okay.
I don't speak like that.
Okay.
There's so much fake news. In fact, a year and a half ago, I quit Twitter and Facebook, 2 years ago actually, because I was fed up with people calling me and saying, this statement you made. I say, me?
Okay.
And somebody has put out something using my handle on Twitter or Facebook.
Hackers.
Yes. So many of those things have. It's not whether it was Buhari or not Buhari. It's just not my style. I don't speak about people. I talk to policies. I talk to, ideas. I don't speak about.
So perhaps those times you spoke to policies, especially the economic policies of Buhari's
then
government.
People then,
they interpreted it to a layman's term.
So that's one. Does it mean I say that what has been done is perfect? No, clearly not. I believe in democracy being a marketplace of ideas within and outside of political parties. I was one of those who founded the APC, by the way. It's
shocking, yes.
Yeah,
I was discussing this with the team, yes.
Yeah, I was one of those who founded the party. I mean, and I came from Legacy ACN. So, I mean, when we started, the idea was to bring together the opposition. And for me, the primary motivation at the time was institution building, to ensure that we have a viable opposition in Nigeria. It didn't matter whether it was PDP that was in power or some other party. I would have been involved with organizing the opposition, just to have strong institutions to enable one government be replaced by another, because that's the way you can make progress. So that process, long, tedious process, led eventually to the founding of APC. And we were all in the mix. When the APC was being put together, a lot of the work that was done on the roadmap, on the manifesto, I was involved. When the vice president was presenting, for example, on the birthday of the party leader, Tinubu, all the ideas that, how they were being implemented, the conditional cash transfers, this, that, but I was hoping that, because I was sitting there, that he would make reference to the fact that we put it together himself, myself, and somebody else on my dining table. And that idea came from me.
And he did not.
Well, it doesn't matter,
Okay.
That's not really the main issue.
Yes.
What I'm saying is to give you how involved I was in the founding of the East.
But you withdrew. Did you at some point withdraw?
I didn't withdraw. I never withdrew, but I was not very vocal, about the way things were and all of that. Why was I involved in politics? I was not running for any position. I was not seeking to be appointed to anything. Really wasn't. I was seeking for a better society to be built. At the point, I wasn't satisfied that we were making enough effort. And my pressure was on the party chairman, as Chief Oyegun. If he wants to, will confess. I went to him several times and said, this is not how a political party is run. We need to sit all our elected representatives down, run workshops for them on what can take us to a particular place. These are the ideas, these are the policies, these are the values that can get us there. And every time I went to him, he would say, there is no money. I said to him on several occasions, Mr. Chairman, it's not about money. If you bring the governors together, if you bring the reps together, you have big offices in this place. You have plenty of room in this your party office with plenty of seats. Let them just fly in here. I will bring my friends free of charge. I will persuade Mark Rewani. I will persuade all these people. Let's come here and sit with these people for a couple of days and educate them on consequence of their conduct and where they probably should be going. They will say, okay, we will see. I went through this. Said that.
Until date, that hasn't sufficed.
Never happened. So I began to feel sort of that Nigeria was not really ready for democracy.
But why are you running under the party then? If they cannot, support something you were part of full front.
What's
Doesn't that dampen your spirit in any way?
Doesn't it make you feel awful that today this man is in PDP, tomorrow he's in APC, the next week he's in TTC, the following week he's back to PDP? He just looks so damn unserious. In that culture.
You also have to think that it also cuts short your chances, especially with the state of the economy and security in Nigeria.
Why don't you reform that party from within and make it different? Why just go to another one? And so that's my personal, and more importantly for me, I think we should recognize that we don't have political parties in Nigeria. That is the truth of the matter. So it doesn't matter what, we should be looking for more non-partisan approaches to solving our problems. And the way that I look at the whole Delta thing is, this is probably an opportunity to bring the elders of the state together to say, look guys, forget this nonsense about this party, that party. Our state is sinking. How can we fix it?
What will be your assessment if I'm to ask you, to graciously rate Nigeria? Insecurity is our biggest problem right now. I know you might come from the economical aspect of things, but insecurity has dragged every other institution, every other industry down. On a scale of 1 to 10, from 1 to 10, how would you rate this government?
Well, insecurity is a very big challenge. We're very, very low level. I mean, you don't want to play with scales, whether it's a Likert scale of 1 to 5, 1 to 7, or 1 to 10. Those just generate emotive. But
what can they do? What can they do?
But a start point of the economic problem, of the security problem, is economic.
Yes.
Because people who have nothing to do are available to be used as cannon fodder for anybody who wants to make trouble.
I think it would be also wise for you to rate Delta State, since that is where all roads are leading to for you.
You don't have to try. Delta is an embarrassment. And all you have to do, as I said, is just drive from Anambra into Delta and into Edo. You will weep.
Is it just about the infrastructures for you?
No,
or is it something else?
See, the infrastructure is a consequence of other things. When I was years ago asked if there were only 2 things the government should do, only 2, just 2, I said to them, you will be shocked that I won't mention infrastructure.
Okay.
First is education. Second is healthcare.
Really?
If people are educated and they are well, they can provide everything else.
Huh.
That's why they are called the social sectors. They are the backbone of society. Education is in collapse in Delta. Look, many of the people who are being recruited for all kinds of things.
Yes.
How many hours did they spend as children really understanding the world through the education they were getting? What do you think happened to the area boys? They just disappeared? I mean, you still have the area boys.
Instead of wearing suits.
The area boys became last mile officials. They became the fellows who are directing traffic.
That's a problem on its own.
It is not a problem. It has eased traffic.
Because I've been complaining, I've been noticing it. Like, these BRT bus drivers are last month. There's something about them.
They became the Loma chaps. They became the...
Wow.
You need to do that in Delta. Take all those young men who have nothing doing,
Empower
going around
them.
doing politics and collecting money from people who should be bringing progress to their place. They are disturbing them and all of that. Round them up. Teach them a few nice things. Give them nice uniforms. They go and they are controlling traffic. They are cutting grass there to make it, planting flowers there. But that's not all. If they do that between 7:30 and 2 p.m., then they step into a classroom between 2 and 5 p.m. and pick up some skills, which when the industrial parks are in place 3 years from now, they will just go into those factories and earn 3 times as much as you are paying them as last mile officials.
What message does it send to the youth that your humble self and, you know, brilliant self in your 60s running for governor, or still in the move of leadership, instead of tutoring us to now be in the forefront to lead? Don't you think it's time, you know, with the whole movement, global movement of empowering youth to lead, don't you think it's time to mentor some of us?
Yeah. Young people in Nigeria are making a mistake.
Okay.
It's not an entitlement thing. Oh, we're youth, we're entitled to, where it's our turn. No.
Okay.
You've got to prove yourself as people of service, as people who believe in something. What you're selling is have a better understanding of the world than this 60, 70-year-old, not I'm young, it's my turn.
Okay.
You know, so that's what's important. Look, I reached the presidential advisory position you're referring to at age 27. It did not happen because of my age. It happened because I was discussing tax policy in Nigeria like nobody had ever discussed. And the vice president said, I'd like to meet that guy. And somebody around said, I can fetch him. And a few weeks later, I was told I was replacing my former professor. So I think that young people need to understand that. As for me, personally, as I said, when we were opening, all I wanted to do was, I'm turning 60, I'm exiting the public space. I told my children, I said, if you hear after my 70th birthday that I am attending a meeting somewhere, it's not that I'm attending a meeting that is political, is whatever. You have a signed approval to say your father has lost
his mind.
His mind. You can now sequester me in some place. But
dear.
This is my last window to show example. Again. And that's why the idea of even thinking another term shouldn't even begin to
come into play. And that's why you say 3 years.
And that's why somebody asked me, Abuja. I will never be a minister again in my life. It's done. I'm past the age for a cabinet position. I have a Lagos address. My address when I leave Lagos is my hometown. And it's very soon. I will never go to Abuja. It's done.
And this is where we call it is done as well here on the interview. Thank you so much, sir, for being gracious enough to host us and for being explicit in your explanations. This is where we'll drop it. Well, do stay with us. The next edition will come your way pretty soon. I'm Chinaka. Thank you for watching.